Just let you know, we are recording the meeting, videotape and sound.
No
So we can
swearing or?
post it on YouTube afterwards.
No swearing then, huh?
Does anybody have any public comments they'd like to bring to the meeting today? Does anybody have any public comments to bring to the meeting today? Does anybody have any public comments they'd like to address today at the meeting? If not, we'll move on to the agenda, which everybody should have.
No changes? Move to be accepted as presented.
Second.
All in favor of the, approve the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All are in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As you know, our meeting for April was canceled, so we have a little bit, I don't know if we have too much brought to this meeting from then, but we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Oh, that's all part of the consent agenda.
Oh, that's right. Okay, now, okay. The River Watershed One plan.
That's the gray sheet.
You have a gray sheet in your packet?
All your sheets are in front of you, so just keep flipping as we go. It should all be in order, so.
Is it underneath your?
This one.
Yep. Oh, it's right here.
So did we get a second draw on that?
What's that?
On the,
Yep.
okay.
Got
Because that's
the-
bigger than what I remember then.
The second
By
grant.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
The first grant, we haven't got the second 40% yet, but the second grant we got now.
The first part.
The first half.
Okay. That happened in April or March or April?
March 25th.
Okay, oh,
So if you look at the bottom, I've had each grant listed separately to show when the money comes and goes. The two little boxes side by side with each grant.
yep.
So basically, if you look at those, the first two boxes, those are the general bank account information. And then if you look at the bottom two boxes, the one is for 2018-19 grant, and the other, and the one on the right is for the 2020-2021 grant. And like it shows in there, we did receive the first half of the 2021 grant on March 25th. That was for $734,798.
And if you add up the black boxes, the interest in the two grants equals our bank balance.
So we had, we had 120,000 left from the previous grant.
Yep,
Correct.
in the first half of the first 50%. When we get that down to zero, then we can get the next 40% for that grant.
And you foresee that that money will be sent out this shortly, or?
Yeah, the first, well, I guess that's part of the next update, if you want me to talk about it now, or,
Yeah,
the first half, or the first quarter invoices have come in for most of the people. We didn't bring them to you guys to pay this month because the policy committee is requiring themselves to approve it also, and they don't meet till June 22nd. So we figured we'd bring it closer to that date so those checks aren't sitting there waiting for their approval. There also will be the second half coming in July or August, and that would probably include a bunch of cost share payments. So between those, this first quarter and second quarter, I'm guessing we'll use that 120 and be able to request the next 40%.
So that policy committee is for the one,
One watershed, one plan.
okay.
So what we just need now, right now, is the approval of the treasurer's report for
So moved.
those two grants.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve the treasurer's report for the 1-1 plan.
We just need number
No.
2 on the bottom.
We have to,
I guess number 2 is what I just gave you, was the update, sorry about that.
And that's the
Yeah.
back sheet here, correct?
Nope,
Oh,
that's
that-
number 3.
Oh,
the 2020-21 river update for the different counties.
So this is for the new grant, so the new dollars that we got for the 2020-21 grant. We have to do sub-agreements with all the different counties. So letter A is the sub-agreements for the Dodge SWCD, Fillmore SWCD, Mauer SWCD, Homestead SWCD, Root River SWCD for ourselves, and then also for Winona County. They will be doing, as it shows on that table, I don't think I had a copy. Yeah, I got a copy of that. So it shows on this table. That's where all the different funds are going for each of those individuals.
And the county is gonna use it for what?
They're gonna be doing some project development, working with St. Mary's, doing what's called PTM app, and that's doing some mapping and determining some high priority areas. Doing that with the watershed, and also working on some civic engagement plan implementation, and working with Friends of the Root River. And I think Winona County, I think Dodge is the only other one that doesn't have the water planner working for the district. And that's generally why the other counties don't have sub-agreements, because most of that work's being done through either the water planners or their technicians or whatever with the district.
so Daryl, am I understanding this right, that under the ag practices, that's what each county's gonna get?
For cost share.
What happens if one county runs over and the other's not using it all? Can they transfer that?
We would consider doing or amendments then.
Okay,
The current grant, we didn't put money to everybody, and we didn't do it that way, and money's been going back and forth, and people are saying, well, I need 80,000, and well, there's only 40,000 left, and this county hasn't used theirs yet. So instead of doing that, we divvied it out,
learning and streamlining as you
Yeah.
go.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
So,
We gotta approve that?
So we need to approve all the sub-agreements, and you can do that all as one if you'd like.
So is it based a lot upon the percentage of plan area?
A lot of it. It's also based on who had, if you look at the list below that priority cost share projects. If you look at the list below it, it kind of shows where those monies are being spent. And some of them get more money, have more of those priority areas.
I mean, I'm not picking on anybody saying one way or the other, I'm just looking at, Dodge having 0.3% to the plan area, but receiving,
They're receiving a little more because we needed to
Yeah.
give them enough to get a project done.
okay, yeah, and those are the things I need to hear,
Yeah.
why is that,
Yeah, if they only got 0.3% of the funds, they wouldn't have enough to actually do a project.
Well, what about the other parts of their area that, they're getting funding from somewhere else besides just this?
Yes, they
Right.
are.
Yeah,
Um, And 13,000 isn't enough to build a pond or a grade stave,
right,
but it would be enough to get some waterways done. So if they put it towards waterways, they should be sitting good. If they put it towards ponds or something, they'd have to have other funds to
but could they,
piggyback on.
I'm just looking at using the money as efficient as possible. Could they, even if that number was $3,000 for them, they could take that money in conjunction with money they're getting somewhere else? So do we necessarily need to fund a whole project, or is it just a cost average of what it is into the county? I'm just looking at, hey, is there, could we, others, somebody else use that? It's just a,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So.
We
that-
tried to make it so it would help get more stuff done.
Yeah.
But also, like was discussed earlier, we can make amendments if we need to.
Yeah,
And that would be amendment that would go through not just our board, but also through the policy committee before it's approved.
So these percentages, they kind of represent,
The amount of the watershed that each
yes,
county has.
yeah,
Yep.
the size, yeah.
And they're not exact, but they're pretty close.
I just looking at Winona County, we're right at about 10%, which is our percentage of plan area. If you add the 110 and 50, give or take. Yep, so just theoretically saying, what? Yep.
And if we get the Mississippi watershed thing done, then Winona County's,
We'd be a high one in
percentage
that
will
one.
be higher,
Yeah.
yeah.
And is that gonna reflect, and who does it, it's gotta come from somebody, so.
There's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second,
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
okay.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve sub-agreement. Go on to,
One of the things I wanted to just point out for this grant, most of our grants go for, they cover 2 years, but the grant lasts for about 4 years. This one only lasts for 3. We lost a year on this, and I have no idea why. Bowser just said this is the end date. We've had that on a couple of grants this year that they shorted us by a year. So we got a lot of work to do in 3 years instead of 4 years.
We're gonna have the manpower.
Most of it's out of our county. We might have ours done in a year and a half.
Okay. How about other counties, though?
The only one that really is the worry is the Crooked Creek Flood Control Project. That's the biggest worry right now, is if they're ready to go, they really need to get moving on it.
Okay.
Is there any late news on that one?
Last I've heard, it sounds like they're getting the permits taken care of and should be ready to go. I don't know if they've got a contractor lined up or anything like that, though.
So what's the permitting process on that?
Well, that one's actually on public waters, so they need to get DNR permit, they need to get Corps permit.
Okay.
They're getting federal funding, so they had to go through a lot of extra steps for that federal funding also.
Okay,
And then they had to redesign because of the federal funding, and it got more expensive.
maybe the feds and the DNR need to streamline that.
Well, the feds aren't
Permitting.
streamlined either, so.
So have all the hurdles been cleared on that one then?
I think so, but I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Dave about this project in the last month or so.
Okay.
This was originally on the first grant, and because of the setbacks and increased cost, we had to move it to this grant, which freed up money for other projects in current grant.
If the weather continues to be like it is, you know, if we're setting ourselves up for dry weather, we should be able to get a lot of work done.
As long as it doesn't get too dry. Structures, we can't build if it's too dry, and you can't get good compaction. So,
There seems to be plenty of subsoil moisture yet.
yeah, so far I think it's looking real good.
Okay, move on to the cost share contracts.
That's the longer sheet.
So,
Start on the side with the picture.
So if you look at that one, we only have one action, and that would be payment on the John and Robert Shell grass waterways. Those got seeded and mulched. They put up some of those fabric rolls every so often also to help slow the runoff. And hopefully with this rain now, maybe things will start growing on that and get established. He hired Pearson Construction to do the project. They did a really good job, and I think it only took them like 2 or 3 days to build and seed and everything. And those pictures in the corner, those are of the shell of his waterways.
How far apart are those barriers, the erosion rolls?
I couldn't tell you. Lance worked with them, Lance and Dave worked with them, so Lance would know, but my guess is maybe 100 feet, every 100 feet or something. I don't think it's the whole length. I think it's the main area where there's a
Yeah,
lot of
they have-
concentration.
they just like,
Beyond the curve, it looks
I
like
think they put two in that whole area, that's what you see there, is two.
And Lance has been talking with them, and actually the contractor also talked with the landowner about doing a better job of upland treatment. So we're working on that too.
So these other names that are on here, those are finished?
Everything with the check mark is completed.
Yeah.
So the only ones that we have left yet are the Peshan, and that
They're doing today.
started today,
They're putting the pipe in today.
put pipe in today. And then the Oriental Bittersweet for the Millers. I don't know if they've started anything on that yet or not.
She checked with them, but I don't remember what the answer is.
So we only have 2 more. I was gonna give you an update after, if you guys want to approve this yet, or?
I'll move approval on the Shell project payment.
Second?
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve,
Aye.
Aye.
oppose? Motion carries for the,
So with that project and all the other ones, they've been doing a lot of waterways this spring. They put in about 40,000 feet of waterways that Lance and Dave have been working with contractors on. They've also started on some of the ponds, and then Lance has also been working with some guys with their cover crops, termination of the cover crop and planting and stuff like that. What we're doing right now is there was an EQIP sign up for federal cost share, and we're waiting to see who gets funded for those, and then once we know that, then we'll be bringing more contracts to you guys on the ones that either needed our money to piggyback to get the project done, or that didn't get funded and would use our money, so. I don't know if that's gonna be in June, or if that might not be till July. It depends on when they find out what's funded through the feds.
You know if Lance has done anything out at your shot farm?
The who's
Bruce Shot?
I don't think so. I don't remember him talking about him at all.
I've heard the name in the office, but that's about all I can say I remember right now. I know that.
We've worked with them on buffers.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't heard anything on it.
Yeah, I think I've heard him and Dave talk the name.
Oh,
That's about all
okay.
I can say though. I don't remember the details.
Bruce is interested in getting in some waterways,
Okay.
so.
Well, he must have talked to somebody.
Yeah, I'm wondering, we must have started with equip and going that route first before we get started with tests. But I'll make sure I check double check.
How's the Kreidemucker project coming?
It's
Amanda
going.
would know more about that probably, but.
They have the clay liner in. They're hoping to start concrete maybe tomorrow, if not tomorrow, hopefully on Monday. A lot of it will have to do with the potential of rain coming too, so.
Yeah,
It's coming along real good, actually, with that.
better weather to work with than they had.
Yep, last year was a horrible year for that project.
Yeah.
That's all we have on cost share and updates and stuff.
Okay. And we have a sub-agreement with Fillmore and Soil and Water District.
Yeah, we have a sub-agreement with them for doing some cover crops, and they want to amend it to give us more money. Basically what they're doing is redistributing funds from SWCDs that aren't using them and giving them to districts that are using them. So it'd be increasing by technical assistance by just over $1,000 and cost share. Am I reading that right? Am I reading it wrong?
No.
Oh, yeah, and cost share by 4,400. The only concern we have is that it's for cover crops, you have to do it for 3 years, and this grant ends in '21. So we would probably have to make an advance payment for the final year, because that would be in '22. And we're allowed to do that, we just don't like to do it because you are giving money out before a project's done.
But you're working with trustworthy people, correct?
We're trying.
It amounts to 1.65 contracts.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can you have them sign a sheet of paper saying that if they don't use it,
Well,
they have
it's
to
part of
get-
the contract.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. That if they don't do it, they have to pay it back, and we could even charge above what they received.
Yeah,
so
penalty.
is this staying that we're gonna have more money for cost share for crop? or,
Cover crops, yep.
So that's quite a bit. I mean, how many,
That's what she was saying, it'd be 1.6 contracts, so it'd cover about 45 acres.
okay. You know, I thought it was $30 an acre, wasn't it?
Yep.
Per year,
Per
For 3
year,
years.
for 3 years.
So you figure the whole contract.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to have a motion to approve that.
Yep.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the sub-agreement with Fillmore County. Nick? So CRP sign up?
Oh, yeah, number 6.
Number 3.
Oh, number 3, I'm sorry. Why are my numbers messed up?
CRP sign up conservation plans agreement? Update.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have a different,
We have 3.
'Cause I
Three to
had
4-H.
the agreement with Goodhue.
You're way out.
Sorry about that. Okay, CRP contract. We are able to get a contract with MASWCD, the state association, to do CRP contracts to help out NRCS and help out our landowners. We're getting $440 per contract, and it requires a 50% match, which we should be able to come up with pretty easy. It's basically it'd be our time. And we have about 60, we're planning on doing 60 plans. So that would come out to 26,400. And that would basically replace the Farm Bill Assistance Grant that we didn't get. And a little bit more than that, but we're actually doing more plans than we would have under the Farm Bill Assistance Grant too.
So is the 440 per CRP plan reimbursement, that's, what's the 50% match part?
It's a 50%, so we have to show that it cost us 400,
No, it didn't cost us.
so it cost us $880
Okay,
to do. On average, some plans are gonna probably take a
so
lot
we do
less than
that
that.
by
but-
just a billing rate,
Yeah.
like an hourly billing rate,
Yeah,
which would
and
be.
our time sheets. So,
Okay, so like $100 an hour or something, or what are we billing at?
I don't know if we figured it yet.
Amanda's probably like, last year she was 63.
And that's supposed to cover overhead,
Yeah.
labor,
Everything.
more.
That's not the salary, that it covers everything. So, but that was just an update. We thought we were gonna have a contract, and MASWCD said, nope, this is all we need is our emails back and forth, so, okay.
Okay. New business with the COVID-19 interim policy. We have to approve paid leave during the public health emergency.
So I don't know if we sent this out to you guys
I
quite a
have
while
a copy
ago.
on the table.
And I guess you guys all have a copy of it too. We didn't change anything from what we sent out, what was it, a month and a half ago? Basically, the main thing is that we had to create a policy that included the new requirements for allowing leave if anybody has COVID, if their family members have, if they have to take care of kids that are out of school because of it, things like that. That's a federal requirement, so we had to add that into our policy. Plus, we just made it a little more flexible to allow people to take time off for taking care of sick people or whatever might be happening. It's interim, it does, it would remain in effect till the end of the year unless something changes before then. And it was reviewed by the county attorney and everything beforehand too, so.
I'll move approval of that.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on the interim policy for COVID. Next is our meeting and events canceled or postponed.
So I just had the list of things that we had to postpone or cancel. We canceled the last month's board meeting. Egg Safety Day was canceled, and we did talk with schools about maybe rescheduling it for fall, and I think they unanimously said, no, let's just not do it until next spring. Part of the problem is the classes that they would have been bringing this month are gone. They've moved up to the next
Yeah.
year, so then you'd have to try and coordinate with the other teachers and other grades and stuff, so. Area 7 all employees meeting has been postponed, nothing's rescheduled yet. The area envirothon was also canceled, and actually, the state one was canceled, and I think the federal was canceled also.
Yes, they all
The Balm meeting was canceled, and our legislative day at the Capitol was canceled, but we did send up that 2019 accomplishments report. We sent that to all the legislators. And then our egg certainty information recruiting meeting was postponed, and we'll probably do that. I'm trying to remember, we had an idea, but I don't remember what it was, August?
I think so.
Can you put together, you know, for the, say, the people that we're going to go see, you know, some of our requests? I mean, is that being done?
That's what, we sent up the accomplishment reports, and then I kind of added some of the things that were in the SWCD.
Okay.
I don't know, they don't call it requests, what do they call it?
Talking points.
Talking points. And this is being a bonding year too, and there's not a lot on their agenda that's specific to our funding. So I figured with all the stuff they got going on, maybe not bother them too much.
No, I don't think they're. So then, we have to approve the COVID preparedness plan, or did we do that already?
Yep, no, we need to approve that. And that's just a plan on, you know, how we're conducting business during this, how we're helping protect the staff, things like that. It's something, I think we've been doing all of this all along. It's something that we just haven't made official on paper. And one of the things we needed is we needed for having that Conservation Corps person coming, we needed a plan in place, officially in place for them also.
Is that our own concept plan, or are there guidelines that are set
It's
up?
taken from everybody else's plan.
Okay.
So with everybody in the office over there, how many people are in there? You know, everybody's in their office space.
If everybody was there, there'd be 8.
Okay.
But Pete hasn't been there for quite a while. Sheila's hardly ever there. I'm counting you and Pete as one. And the other 7 of us, it's almost never that all of us are there at once.
Yeah.
NRCS for a while was only supposed to have 1 person there, and a second one could go if they were going out in the field to do work. That I don't think is a requirement anymore.
It's
They're not following it.
It's
if it
still a
is.
requirement, they're just not following.
Okay. A lot of times they'll have 2 people there.
So Waltz is releasing this stuff on Monday, but you're under federal, so that's not gonna.
We don't know if the federal's gonna unlock doors, if,
Okay.
that's all up to them.
So this could be for a couple weeks yet, or a month, or?
It could be, I don't know. And the same with FSA side, with their side, that's all controlled by the federal. I don't know if they're gonna open doors next week and say, okay, people can come in and certify, or if they're still gonna have them locked and have you call. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to certify over the phone sometimes.
It's gonna be tough. What they're doing is having people call and tell them they're coming in, and they'll put the maps together and put them out in the entryway and unlock the door for them to get their maps out of the entryway. Apparently some offices are handing them out the window. So,
And you go down to Fleet Farm and people are shoulder to shoulder, and what's the
Yeah.
difference? Okay,
Motion to approve? Or no, you need that?
yep, we do.
Yep, motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor of the motion to approve the COVID-19 plan?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our local working group, I guess, is rescheduled.
Well, we need to reschedule it. That's one that we had to postpone.
Yeah, so do we have a date yet, or?
It's up to you guys. What I was gonna recommend is have it next month after our meeting. That would be June 11th.
So our meeting will be here next month too, in this area?
It's up to you guys.
What do you mean?
Well, if you wanna have it
We
here,
can't have it,
probably not,
probably not.
yeah.
gotta
No,
be.
well, social distancing is still in effect for 30 days, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this area should be big enough to have that meeting in too, so.
Yep. It'd probably be fewer people than this meeting.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So we need, I don't know if we need a motion, but at least,
We don't need a motion. but-
Josh and Bill, you're the two on that.
Yeah, and so when
that
are they
would
don't
work
know
out.
yet, did you say, or?
Well, it's up to you guys. What I had talked to Sue about was just having it on the 11th
Of June or July?
of June.
Okay.
And so it'd be in the afternoon after this meeting. If that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's what we usually have in City Hall,
Yep.
St. Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll have a whole day then.
Well, I looked ahead at what we usually do in June, and June is usually a pretty quiet month for, as what's on the schedule, so I don't know if you wanna go 11:30, or after lunch, or just to keep the day
Trying to think
flowing.
what all we would have any resolutions, if anybody brings a resolution, we would have that.
But otherwise, there
There's
wasn't a
not
whole
much
lot
of
that we do in
anything.
June.
Yeah.
I don't see why you couldn't start at 11 and, I don't
It'd
think
force
that
us to get done quicker.
meeting would last an hour either. You could be all done with everything by noon.
That'd be nice.
I think a local work group is technically supposed to take up to 2 hours, but you can make it go quick.
So,
You wanna set it for 11 o'clock then?
Sounds good.
On the
What do
11th?
you think, Josh?
Yeah, I don't, as long as we can.
it's more or less just to say, I mean, to the,
It's to set priorities
Yeah.
for, federal funding, or make our recommended priorities for federal funding, and, show them what our concerns are in the area.
So we're gonna set that at 11? Regular meeting still at 9?
June 11th at 11 a.m., how about that?
Yep, but our meeting will be at 9?
Yep.
Then that will be at 11.
I'm pretty sure we can
Okay.
get done in 2 hours.
Alright. I was gonna say we could do it at 8:30 if we needed to.
Nah, 11, or 9 should work, I would think.
I would rather go.
okay. We have an audit request for the year end, December 31st. We have to approve the audit.
Do you have a sheet that looks like, do they have this? A sheet that looks like this?
Still making notes.
So we sent out, requests to 4 firms, just like we did last year. And, only received back from 2. Actually, did we do 5 last year?
No, Hawkins actually only did last year.
Oh, okay.
So the fees went up quite a bit.
They've gone up, when they did the first one, they didn't know what we had.
So the whole
they-
idea of the Smith Schaefer was to kind of get us, because we didn't think Peterson was really going into it, Smith Schaefer was supposed to get us kind of where we needed to be. So I guess, long story short, should we go back, or do we need to stay?
We would prefer to stay.
It's kinda
It is up
fine.
to you guys, though.
Is it worth the $1,500?
They were very, very helpful in working us through how to keep our books for both the district and the One Watershed, One Plan. And they've provided a lot of help through the year. That is all part of their billing. I don't think they sent any separate bills, did they?
Only worked with them a couple times, and no, like, I spent quite a bit of time getting the COVID-19 set up for payroll, and they didn't charge anything as of yet. I don't think they will either.
So
They've been much more thorough and really, really good to work with and get, and it just seems like we're getting more of a true audit than we were getting from Peterson.
Was it worth the $2,200 to do it again, to kind of secondary from last year, just to keep the ball rolling a little bit, and we can still go back if
We
need
can
be?
still go back, but I think
Yeah.
we should
Yep.
give them another year to do the one watershed loan.
Yeah, I
Incorporate,
understand.
keep us with one watershed loan.
I understand when good accounting is all.
I really don't see it as an increase, because with the one watershed, one plan, you're adding so much
Yeah.
more work that it's a fair price. I mean, you're paying for what you're getting done,
Yeah,
and if it's aiding you guys quite a bit,
And that,
to me,
that
it
was,
sounds like it's money well spent.
that was their answer, that their increase was due to the one watershed loan plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they didn't actually raise their rates,
No.
they just took a lot longer to get the job done because of added work.
And actually, I think they got more than they bargained for last year, so we got a lot more for our money last year because it took us a lot longer to get the books separated in the financial statements. But they stuck with their bid, and so,
No, my reference was just the difference between the two companies' costs, not as far as what the workload was.
and I specifically told everybody in my letter that we have one watershed, one plan, so for Peterson to come back with
Because they added to
3,700,
it too, to do it, yeah. you can see.
I don't think is,
No.
I would be doing most of the work, put it that way, for the 3,700.
So I make a motion to go with Smith Schaefer again for another year.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the audit. Southeast Soil and Water Technical Support.
so the Technical Support Joint Powers Board ran into a deficit for the last half of the year. And if, do they have this? Okay. Bill,
I was there.
you were there on the phone
Yeah.
with us at the meeting. They've had a number of things going on the last year or so. The biggest thing is they had their office administrator, I don't know what her exact title was, had some health issues for over a year and actually has passed away. And they weren't able to keep up with their books for quite a while, and found out too late. I think that's the main reason. They found out too late that they were running short of funding. Their fiscal year goes to the end of June, just like the state year does. So they're looking at ways to make up those dollars, and they're able to make up a lot of them, but they are still short. So what they were looking at was to increase everybody's dues, a one-time only, hopefully, by $2,500. Right now, we're paying $1,000. And we're also receiving $2,200 in rent from them? Something like that? What do you remember what you pay for rent?
Yeah, about that.
'Cause it's the same as yours.
26.
2,600. And right now, at the moment, we don't have, well, we do have one project that they're working on, but we've had a lot of projects that they've spent half their time on, and we're still only paying $1,000. So over the long run, another 2,500 isn't asking too much. It's just that we didn't have that in our budget. What they're also looking at is they've applied for the Nacd Technical Assistance Grant. That would cover things down the road in the longer term. One of the things that when they were working on that application, it's through Nacd, but you have to do it through your local, or through the state NRCS and state SWCD, or state association. Doing it through them, we found out that Winona and Wabasha counties are not priority areas for NRCS. So we're not eligible for those Nacd grants. They did talk to NRCS, and for this application, they added us to their priority area. So hopefully that'll go through. I have no idea when they're gonna find out. I did see this morning on email that the Southwest Joint Powers Board just got approved for Nacd funding. So hopefully that doesn't mean that we didn't. We'll have to wait and see. So basically, this whole thing is they're asking for $2,500 one-time increase to their dues,
In addition to the 1,000?
yeah.
So if you don't have it budgeted, where are you gonna get that, some other source?
Well, we do have money available, we probably take it out of our, what would go to a fund balance.
So is it something that they would pay back, or is it something just, here you go, get straightened out?
It's, here you go, get straightened out.
They said one of the things that also that kind of led to this is that, you know, we've been at $1,000 for quite a few years, but other costs have gone up, you know. So increases in people's salaries and stuff like that, wasn't figured in, I guess I would say, or something, you know, along those lines. That they weren't, and they, you know, apologized, you know, for the lack of keeping up with inflation, I guess it would be, you know.
Part of it's
If
also,
they would have known this sooner, you know, they might have asked us for maybe a $500 increase or something, you know. But with the bookkeeping issue and inflation issue, it all kind of caught up to them.
Well, this has been going on for over more than just a short time, was over a number of years, wasn't it?
yep,
Yeah.
Do all the districts pay 1,000 then, or?
yep,
Okay, so then everybody is gonna be asked to go up to $3,500 this year.
yep. And I think everybody's paid their 1,000 already, so this would be a new 2,500. We have paid more a couple times because we were getting some special help from them. I can't even remember what it was anymore. It was a number of years ago, but that $1,000 I think has been for, it's probably been that for 20 years or more. We did ask them for that, but I don't see that on their report. It doesn't say how long it's been, but I don't remember it ever going up other than that special project they worked on.
I'll move approval of the increase.
I've got a question then. Is it possible or probable that next year we're gonna see their dues increase to 1,500?
I think it's probable, but I think one thing that might help prevent that is if they get that NACD grant.
Yeah.
One of the things that they're doing is they've done projects that didn't include cost share, and they didn't charge anybody for those, and they're gonna start charging for them. If they're doing a project that's just through a landowner, they're gonna charge them engineering costs for that. They didn't have to before, but their funding is 100% grants, and all the grants are getting tougher and tougher, saying that we need, you know, the one we're getting from CRP, that's 50% match. They're just getting tougher and tougher to get that match. So they're gonna start charging more for those type of projects. And some of the projects under, like the Root River One Water Sewer Going Plan, there's other ones out there in our area too now. Some of the projects are beyond what we can do as technicians in the districts. So the engineer staff would work on those and get reimbursed from the One Water Sewer Going Plan also. But we're not doing sub-agreements with them. We're letting each individual district work that out. If they have a big project, they can work it out and bill it through that. Otherwise, we'd have way too many sub-agreements. We already do, but.
I'm really not in favor of this, bailing somebody out, but if it's a necessity, I mean, I'll support it, but
You know,
I'm in hesitation.
I wouldn't go along with if it was, you know, that much every year increase. So you don't think that's, Steve?
I'd be careful with the wording as a one-time increase. I'd maybe just say a one-time payment, because it sounds like you're increasing it to 3,500, and they're gonna fall back and say, well, last year you increased it to 3,500. I'd be careful with how you word it. If it's a one-time payment of an additional $1,500, that makes sure it's clearly stated that way. So you're not increasing you're not by motion increasing their dues to 3,500.
We're not. It's a annual due, and each year it's a set. And the board makes that decision of what they're gonna invoice for each district each year, so. I don't remember exactly what the wording was on the invoice, but it is a one-time thing.
Here it says one-time increase.
Nothing, zero's been set for next year, so it doesn't carry over.
Okay, do we have a second?
We did.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to increase one time for the technical support?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have to,
I wanna remember that the one next year, we come back with an increase.
yeah, they'll see. It's 20.
Because, I mean, if you take that 2,500 over 5 years, that's, up to 1,500, so.
Yep.
I won't
Vehicle
forget.
rotation plan, we have to decide.
So, that was in 2018, you said? I didn't realize that was that long ago. We approved a vehicle rotation plan, and it would include buying out the Jeep lease, which is up next week. What I was wondering is if we wanted to reconsider that, and instead of buying it out, maybe replacing it with a new lease.
How many miles are on it?
Where did I put my? It's about 25,000 on it. Just a second here, I have notes on it, I can't find it right now. Oh, there it is, sorry. The lease buyout would be 17,412 plus fees and taxes. Plus it needs $800 worth of brake work. It's small, both for when we go to meetings, it's pretty small. And it's also too small for us to haul our stuff to the fair and other places we have our booth up at. What we're looking at is replacing it with a Grand Cherokee instead of a Cherokee. We got bids, and it looks like it'd be about $500 a month with a $2,000 payment, and that'd be at 10,000 miles per year, and we're well within that for the vehicle we have now. The other thing we're looking at is buying is not billable to any grants, but leasing is billable to our grants. We could calculate that into our billing rate, so we can get that reimbursed through our billing rates.
So we would do a lease with the same company, just on a new vehicle? And
Yeah.
so would we get any credit on the existing lease because of the low mileage?
No,
What does the lease come out to per month?
the current one,
Yeah,
310.80.
310?
So you'd be increasing from 310 to 500?
yep.
Because it's a different size of vehicle.
And-
Pay for what you get.
And newer.
Did you check around another, like Lewiston Auto or anybody?
Nobody else has something like this. We need four-wheel drive,
Arc,
and we need it to be able to haul stuff in. And basically, you're either going to like a Suburban type of
Chevrolet don't
thing.
have one that,
They're all-wheel drive, but not four-wheel drive. And I've talked to other districts that
That's
have the
well-
all-wheel drives, and they do not go out the field like a four-wheel drive does.
oh,
I have the same thing with my Durango, that's not four-wheel drive either, it's all-wheel, and
it's on demand.
it's not, it doesn't lock all four
No.
ever. And there's especially, checking checking our buffers or going out in the field or through pastures and, tilled fields and stuff like that, we need the four-wheel drive.
Yeah,
We actually, I thought maybe we should just go with a pickup instead. And Amanda especially said a lot of the things that she goes to and takes to display, it's in the winter and there's snow and everything else, and you can't haul that stuff in the back of the pickup.
you'd have to have a topper on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, put a topper on it.
And just for our going to meetings and stuff, that something like this was much easier to haul everybody.
It'd be pretty hard, not to be sexist or anything, but for the women to reach in or crawl in, especially if they're in dresses, into the back of a pickup to get this stuff out. I could see where a larger SUV would be
Yep.
a lot more handy for them.
The other thing with the lease is we can back out early anytime we want. That the dealer told us that too. Like, because they even offered to do this earlier for the existing Jeep, but with our board meeting today and our lease up next week, it's perfect timing.
Was it 10,000 miles, is that as low on a lease they'll do?
Yep,
That's based on based on 3 years?
10 so it'd be 30,000 miles total. So like I
So
said, we're at
such low
20,
miles on ours,
24, 25 right now.
and they're not accounting for the lower. Are we getting a government incentivized lease on these, or are we getting just a
Just a regular lease.
person walking in the door?
The only government stuff that I could find was if you purchase.
So are we actually taking, I mean, if we do this, we're looking at $7,500 more to go to a slightly bigger vehicle. Incurring $2,500 a year in extra travel cost if we take two vehicles versus one, if we, I'm just trying to deduce everything. Before you know it, we're gonna be driving military tanks. You know what I mean? Where does it stop? Cause it was what we had, then it was the Cherokee was it, now we're up to, well, we need a Grand Cherokee, and then before you know it, we're gonna be a Suburban. I'm not
I
disagreeing
don't
with
wanna
any of
go
it, I'm
to-
just saying,
I
eventually
was
it comes
hoping
to
to
a
stay
point
with
where it
the
makes
Cherokee.
sense just take two vehicles, because we got so much money stuck in
You,
one,
You have, you have to, it has to be a new vehicle.
For a lease.
Are we billing out, I mean, so when we add the $200 a month, and this is just penny
That's
pinching
already
taxpayers.
been figured into the
Yeah.
2020 budget also.
Yeah, but are we actually taking that and adding it to our billable rate?
Yeah. Yeah, when we recalculate anytime there's a significant change, to our expenses, we recalculate billing.
So how does that look out, I mean, are we able to, when we do a billable rate like that, we're just taking from, saying from this side of the tax base to this side of the tax base, saying, okay, we gotta bill more for this. Are we able to just charge what we want, and we can just exponentially keep adding it onto the
Oh,
billable rates?
Bowser has a spreadsheet
Yeah,
that we have to maintain
okay.
that shows where we're getting our numbers from and how we're calculating them. So it's not that we just, oh yeah, let's have.
Oh, yeah, I mean, ultimately, we don't pay for it, I mean, every time I pay taxes, it's going in somewhere, so. it's either
And
going the
most of
roundabout way
their-
or the right way. So I'm just looking at it and saying, either way, we're gonna pay for it. I realize it's small, but they all compound. I'm just making sure we're accountable for what we're doing, because when people start seeing what's driven around out there, trust me, I know all about it, you're either making too much money or spending the taxpayers' dollars foolishly or whatever it is, So that's all I'm doing, because it's a flagship. People see it and say, well, that's where my money's going. So I'm just making sure that it's accountable.
Can we do an extended lease on the one we have, or a release with only 25,000 miles? That thing is brand new.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that, is there a way that we can,
We can do a 1 month extension because of the COVID.
no, I'm just thinking.
That's all that's out there right now.
Not so much the buy-up, but I mean, is it, I guess, to go from $300 to $500, that's 2/3 of owning two vehicles. You know what I'm saying? That's what, it gets to that point where it's like, well, you're better off just drive two vehicles, but you know what I mean? You're almost doubling the cost to obtain one vehicle. is it,
Why is there such an increase in the lease? If you're just going from a regular Jeep to a Grand, there's not that much difference in price, is there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're completely different vehicle, they're much bigger. And I went down, well, I guess it's the same, what do you call it, package as what our Cherokee is, and they had to go look and find that, because it's not they sell this one up here and we're looking for this one down here.
yeah, it's utilitarian.
So you're looking for the cut down one version even?
Yeah,
More of a work one instead of a luxury vehicle.
That's the problem with the leases, though. I mean, I get the billable rate thing, but are we billing out an additional $7,500 or this, are we just losing it, or what where's that money going? Because if we gotta dish out another $2,000 plus pay $200 more for almost a brand new vehicle, that's a
I
lot.
don't like that. I
Yeah.
just assume keep the one we got for looking at those kind of dollars.
I mean, you're basically on a 2-year rotation. You could buy 2 of what we have now for the same cost, because if you take the $2,000 on 2 years, that's basically $100 a month, plus the $200 in increase, you're at $600 a month. That's 2 Cherokees for 1 Grand Cherokee. I mean, that's the way I see it. The difference is the insurance. But is the next thing coming, hey, we're 1 vehicle short, we need another vehicle, and now we're stuck in this lease. I'm just looking long term, what's this look like 2, 3, 4 years? Are we better off to have 2 vehicles than just everything stuck into one? I don't know, but that's just my discussion.
As far as hauling stuff, we could buy a small enclosed trailer for 1 or 2 months lease payment,
yeah.
couple
And
months lease payment.
we've thought about that too, but where do you store that then? Then you're
Yeah, where do you
paying-
store it? That's an issue.
Paying somebody to store that for you.
Yeah.
This question is maybe for Wanda. Have you compared, let's say over the last 10 years, I know it's a big question, on what we normally pay out each month or year for vehicles, and how it's comparing to leasing these
You mean for expenses?
for expenses, yeah?
We usually stay within the budget, and
And I know this is an unfair question because you had no idea it was coming, but what I'm saying, when you get the older vehicle, you're gonna have more maintenance and repair and all that kind of stuff. You got the payments when you purchase them. Did they do the maintenance and repair on them, on the lease, or is,
Yeah.
No.
No,
but I mean, like tires and all that stuff, you don't use them up in 25,000?
no.
Oil changes, normal maintenance.
That's all we have paid so far is oil change.
1 or 2 at the
Yeah.
most.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know that answer, but,
All of our vehicles have always had low mileage.
yeah.
It's not for our vehicles, and same with the federal. Our vehicles, it's not the mileage, it's the wear and tear going through the fields and everything else with them.
I guess the one time I seen Amanda down at, Winona Quick Trip, and she had the red pickup, it was rusty and beat up. And then what my initial thought was, if that's the way they run their office, do I want them doing work out in my field? So your perception of, when you pull into somebody's yard, you don't want a junk vehicle.
Was that
I mean, you want it to look,
2010.
professional looking, because you're going in there and doing work on their farms, and you want it. And like I say, it may be an odd thing that I even thought of that, but I just, if I did, and I'm helping in charge of this stuff, what does the common person have, when you see somebody coming in with a rusted,
Here's the way it works, 20 years in this profession, driving in the farmer's yard. If you drive a piece of junk, you're not doing well enough, I don't trust you enough to do what you're doing.
yeah.
You drive the same thing that everybody else drives, you're just like everybody else, get out of here. And if you drive something nice, you're charging me too much money, get out. You can't win no matter what you do, you can't win, guaranteed, you can't win. So it's all a loss, it's all in everybody's perception of how this.
Right.
I don't disagree with, hey, let's not drive into junk. but it does come to that, that is what happens, so.
So it's up to you guys. Like I said, you did approve to just do the buyout. And I just wanted to bring up an alternative for that.
Cause how many years is that 17,000 over then? Another 3
That's a
or
buyout.
cash out
That's
front?
to buy it out, yeah.
So we'd have to have we'd have to either finance that, correct, or do we buy that outright?
We'd have to buy it outright.
And so is the 17,000 in the budget to buy it outright?
Did we put that in?
That would come out of the budget.
I think we did, cause that's what we were
Oh,
working towards.
no, we missed, I think we messed up, I think we
We were just working towards the other truck.
2022. But we're looking forward to 2022, and I think we missed doing the buyout for the Jeep.
So we budgeted for replacing the other truck during 2022.
So the question I have is if we.
You got
buy
in here,
this out-
2025 replaced the 2017 Jeep.
That's the 21.
That's what we would be buying out now.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at.
We would buy out the lease now.
So did we look into what it took to just replace what it is that we have? As far as.
For another lease?
Yeah.
I didn't know, but it would definitely be cheaper than the 500. My guess, and it's just a guess, would probably be around 350 or so. The one thing with those, that lower model, I think is more available in the Cherokee than it is in the Grand Cherokee.
I personally think it's better to go through the billing rate and recoup our costs through the grants than come up with the money outright.
I don't disagree, with that, it's just, exponentially, this is started from replacing an old vehicle to, hey, let's get a new one, now we're keep intensifying the cost. It's just gotta be, accountable for that whole thing, so. It goes back to, we could either have 2 vehicles or 1 big vehicle. I mean, to me, that's what it's about, you're gonna spend about the same amount of money. Because between the cost and whatnot else, so is it, my fear is that a year or 2 from now, it says, well, we need another vehicle, or we hired another person, we need another, in this case, we could have done 2 for the price of 1 to cover that cost to keep going. I guess I'm gonna make a suggestion, if we have a month because of the COVID deal, and our lease is up next month, maybe we should get a little more information, such as what would it cost you? I mean, if 4-wheel drive is an absolute necessity for what that vehicle does, maybe we should look at what's the cost to replace it apples to apples with what it is that we have, gather a little more information on that. Is there an alternative, like Leo said, with or without? I know there are Ford Explorers that have true 4-wheel drive. There's other things that are out there, and maybe have it just a little, these are pretty big things to come in with very minimal information. Let's take advantage of the COVID deal, get our extra lease, and let's just see what else is out there, and give us a little bit of time to think about it too, I think. Is that fair?
I agree with that.
I guess you got 6,000 in the budget for next year. And that 17,000 buyout is just about 18,000 or 3 years of a lease. And then you start adding the maintenance onto, if you bought it out, you got the maintenance, so 50,000 miles, you might be looking at new tires down the road, other things, starting to go, brakes, whatever.
Especially on a Jeep.
I'm just saying right now, I agree with you that the month would be good, give us time, but right now I'm leaning towards doing the lease myself.
it'd just be nice to see what it would take to lease. To me, it's not, we have to do something, it's about, do we
What do we
upgrade
do?
and have a constant payment that's almost double between what it would cost to upgrade and this? Is there value being left on the table with trading in something that's almost brand new? You know, they don't give you the extra value, they keep that value versus if you go over, you pay for it. So that's my whole thing is the unforeseen cost here is two sides. It's the value of what we're leaving on the table by trading in an almost brand new vehicle that they're giving us a set price that they determine on the lease beforehand. They say this is what it's gonna be worth, right? And because we're so far under that, there's a percentage, is it 5,000, is it 2,000, is it $7,000 that we're leaving on the table for the dealership to keep, plus giving them another 2,000, plus increasing our payment by $200 a month. There's a lot of money left there on the table that, what happens if we did buy it outright, turn around and sold the vehicle, or what, you know, something else more to that character, because this thing could cost you $10,000, just like that, and we're all sitting hashing over $2,500.
What are the
So-
value?
They're giving
Yeah.
you, they give you wholesale for this car, that's what they're giving you, it's a trade-in, you know.
Yeah, what is the book value of the vehicle we have?
I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, it's more than what they're giving you, because they're buying it as wholesale. But that extra 200, that, you know, with the way everything is happening with the COVID affecting everybody's budget, how is, you know, we don't know what our budget's gonna be the next year or two.
Yeah, that's
Either.
another issue.
So, and we're increasing our, by $200, we'll have to figure that in our budget.
I guess that's the reason I was thinking of leasing again, because we can always end the lease anytime.
Right now, Chrysler.
If things
has-
went downhill, we could say we're selling back that lease and be done with it.
So we got that vehicle initially for our route. Wasn't that the vehicle that,
That's for me, for doing the buffers, and then also for all of us doing meetings and everything else,
but did we get that when we,
and for going to the displays and stuff.
Right now, Chrysler, Jeep, they're all having 72 months free financing. So that'd be
Yep.
6 years. So look at what the payment of a buying, let this lease go and buying a new one, free financing for 6 years.
But then you can't bill it, that was the billable.
Right, that's what you gotta compare. Are you better off to lease it and be able to bill it out, or, cause what is the list price of that vehicle, do you know?
Of the Jeep,
The Jeep Grand Cherokee or whatever you're looking at?
45,
So 6 years. Got a calculator handy?
What was the list price of this one?
of the one we have now, I don't remember off the top of my
you
head.
know, it's quite a bit less. They're
I
granders, they're a
I
lot
think
more
it
than
was
them.
30-something,
Cause that's more of a,
I don't remember, we haven't.
A luxury
filed it.
vehicle.
yeah.
there's a lot of upgrades in a Grand over a regular.
Yeah.
45 over 6 years is 7,500.
You're almost looking at 600, I don't have a calculator, so I'm just thinking $600 a month to own it on that. Someone's got a calculator, quick, press in 45,000
Right.
over 72 months.
I don't know that we're allowed to take a loan.
I don't think we are.
I know, normally we're not allowed to take a loan. I
Oh.
would assume this would be the same.
Yeah.
I think it's either, it really comes down to a lease factor or buyout factor, where it's just cost averaging out, is it worth slightly over $3,000 a year to haul a few extra things? I just,
Yeah,
I just don't, I mean, what do we get together? I mean, 9 times out of 10, I usually drive my own vehicle, so you all are packed in there for 45 minutes and we don't go that far. I guess that's my thing. Is it worth $3,000? I don't know. That's where I rely on you guys to say it's worth $3,000 extra to be able to haul a couple more things. I don't know if that's necessary or not. I don't know if it comes down to having to make 2 extra trips to get it all there, if there's really that much more room in that vehicle or not. Or is it just a nice to have, or is it a need to have? I guess for $3,000, that's a lot of fuel to drive, make 2 trips to the county fair, you know?
I can't imagine that the dealership wouldn't write another lease on this vehicle, that we can just lease it again for however long we want to. You don't think
It's
so?
an option, but
I've never leased before, so. never. This
If
is
we
the
could
first
do
time,
that,
well, we did lease that other Jeep, but we,
I would think we'd be able to lease it for maybe 2/3 the cost that we're leasing it for right now, or even less. And it's basically a brand new vehicle.
Well, yeah, and it's still gonna be under warranty. What was the warranty on it? Wasn't it a 5-year warranty on it?
But they like to move new vehicles, and I think that's one way they do it is you have to do it on a new vehicle.
Yeah, so I mean, really, our
lease.
the tires I can see, but
72-month lease with the final payment as a buyout. So yeah, it'd still be considered a lease, if they're willing to do that. I know when I bought my bulk tank, that's the way it was. I leased it with the final payment as a buyout.
So,
So could we, if we, say, bought this out, and then, maybe Dara, you could look at, you know, do, this Chrysler, do, government, you know, vehicle type stuff, and if we just bought it out and then went into, like what we did with the pickup.
yeah, that was another thing too, because on the trucks, we're not leasing those trucks, so are we able to bill those out on a billable rate either?
nope.
Right, and my thought process is understanding what's the vehicle worth, what are they paying us for it? If we bought the vehicle out outright for $17,000 or whatever it is, pick the number and then turn around and traded it right back in towards a lease. Is there a couple $1,000s on the table there that we're leaving? You know, it's the exploration of that. Like I said, we just played mind games with $2,500. Why wouldn't we do the same thing with this? And so, you know, I guess that's my thought process, because that way, again, you'll recapture your tax value, because the trade to the lease should capture the tax. You won't pay tax on that. And then perhaps there's, I guess, for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, an extra 4 or 5 hours of our time would probably be pretty smart. And then maybe it does make sense to go to the Grand Cherokee based on what a new Cherokee costs. But we looked at them for my daughter, and I got a pretty good idea what they are, just up in St. Charles, and there's a pretty big difference between the two costs. You know, I know what the base model cost and what the upper model cost, and it's a difference between 20 and 30,000 type scenarios. I mean, they're a pretty big difference, and you get into the Cherokees or the Grand Cherokees, and they do get pretty expensive. So I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate, because to me it sounds like we're getting close to being able to own 2 vehicles versus 1 vehicle, and then where does that fall into play down the road? So.
Why don't we take advantage of the extra month and think about it and explore it a little bit?
I think we're just setting a precedent how we want to keep this cycle going. You know, ultimately, if we need a bigger SUV, then we keep the cycle going on the bigger SUV. If we really don't think it justifies the extra $3,000 a year, because that's really what it comes down to, then, because we got to pay the $2,000 plus the whatever it was, 5 something. You know, that's $2,500 to $3,000 a year for the extra couple of trips.
insurance has changed too somewhat.
Insurance changes. I'm sure there's a lot.
That's not
Not
very big.
not much.
That 2,000, at signing time, right?
Yeah.
It's not every.
And there would be, there
No,
would
but
be,
but amortize it over 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, so you're adding another $75 plus the 500, whatever, so you're at $600 versus $300.
but you're miscalculating now, cause if we lease a Cherokee, there's a down payment for that too. You have to throw that into that too.
Right, but it's the difference between if we just bought this one out and kept it, and then went back and bought another one. Either way, we spend the $2,000, but it's cost averaging that all out. So even still, okay, so at $2,400 plus the insurance, we'll call it $2,500. How many extra trips can we make for $2,500? Or, you know, that's what I'm looking at, saying, is there a reason to do that or not to do that? That's all I'm saying.
Well, do we want to table this for a month, or do we want to make a decision on replacing the Jeep? Or,
I move we table it for a month.
So we can still do that, right?
I think so.
Okay. They had it out and we looked into it, and I don't think we there's no timeline where we had to do it by a certain date or anything.
because it is a big jump in the lease
Well, it's
payment.
exponential. It's year after year after year, in 10 years, that's $25,000.
Yeah.
That's a whole new vehicle.
And,
cost a lot.
you know, like if you're going out to look at fields, you're basically in the vehicle yourself, so the Jeep is fine for you doing that, isn't it?
It works, yeah.
So it's just
It's
basically,
tight, but I get in and out.
the replacing with a bigger vehicle was just those times when you're hauling stuff, but
Yep.
that's like a limited times a year. It isn't every week or
No,
every.
not by any stretch.
But for Amanda, it's probably at least once a month that she goes to a show. I mean, not right now, but
Normally it would be.
at least once, if not twice.
But for the 25, that'd be. But if you looked at it, at what it would cost each time you're doing that, it would cost like $300 extra in payment for times you're doing that. So is it agreement to table this for a month, or
Is that a motion or?
I made a motion to table it till next
Second.
month.
are you all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
I guess I'd like to request that then, because from what I'm hearing, you guys don't like the increase, so
See
find
what we
out
can find for
what
Cherokee.
to lease, the same as what you got,
Yep.
and the bigger one.
Yeah, that,
A little
And
more
then-
info would be nice. I mean, all we know is what it potentially could cost to buy it out, and then what it costs to upgrade. We have no idea what,
Yeah.
to do the same thing. We have nothing to base a decision off of.
so if you got at least, are those basically the same vehicle, or is there some difference in the, I mean, this is 17, and the 21s are maybe are,
With the Cherokee,
yeah,
a 17 versus a 20.
yeah, they're,
I didn't look at them.
I'm just trying to justify the extra cost. Is
Yeah.
it really worthwhile? I mean, is Amanda sitting in there driving down the road because all the seats are down and it's full to the top? Or
Yeah.
is it just, oh, she's nice?
is.
You know what I mean?
No, she
And-
is sitting like
I
that.
mean, look at my trip, you know, I get it, you know, so, I'm not,
what I'm
Not
a
out to get
little
them,
leery
just-
about is our budget. I mean, I don't know what it's gonna look like
we're really
down the
fast at
road
just
here.
always just doing,
Well,
and, you know, we gotta, at some point, we gotta pull back and say, all right.
Our budget is really the reason I think we need to lease, because
Yeah.
we can always back out of the lease.
Yeah,
I don't disagree
We
with
don't
that
have
on the billable
the
rate
money to
aspect.
be buying too many vehicles.
I'd like to keep leasing this one if they'll do it.
Let's
And
look
I
at
have that down to.
Yeah.
but I
To check
kinda
with
think
you.
that they don't do that.
Because
but-
being so new, it's gonna be on warranty for a while, they can always buy, I mean, the cost to buy a new one is gonna be less. That $2,000, you could go get an extended warranty on it. I mean, there's so many things that there's so many options out there to do, you know, so. We can
Okay, we
minimize it.
didn't vote on the motion yet, so
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and
we
then
did,
I just
yeah.
asked for this information after
Okay.
the vote.
We'll move on then to the Conservation Legacy Scholarship selection. Has the committee made a selection?
Yep,
Yep,
I think so. I told Daryl my vote, assuming you were the same.
yep.
Yeah.
yeah, we had eight applications, and we had 3 of them that stood out pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they agreed, I think, they agreed on the same one that the staff had thought would be the best one too. It's Trevor Anderson from St. Charles High School, and he's going to North Dakota State University for civil and environmental engineering. And this is the first time that we didn't award one to the Lewiston School District. The one year we gave 2, we gave one to Lewiston and one to St.
Yeah.
Charles.
So it's open to any of the 3 schools in the Winona County?
Yep. And I don't think we've even received an application from Winona. We send the stuff out to the teacher, or to the,
Well, you never do every year.
yeah.
Huh.
We send the stuff to
Have
them.
we ever
and
got
they
one or
send
not?
reminders, and I don't know if nobody applies, or if they don't even send it to the kids, or what. the
Huh,
deal is.
that's odd.
And we only got the one from St. Charles this year. And she even commented, the lady from the school, she said, well, you should get a lot of them, everybody's at home with nothing to do.
It's
I don't think it's quite that, because they
It's
do have schoolwork to do,
It's
but
$1,000, isn't it?
500.
500.
Yep.
Okay, and then we have to talk about the outstanding conservationist. Are we gonna decide?
We hadn't heard anything from you guys. We used the top ones from last year that we were really bouncing around which ones we wanted to do. So we offered these 2. If you wanted somebody else, we can try that, but we need to do it really quick. Paul and Jackie Glendy out by
We gonna have a county
Altura,
fair?
Elba area, or Everett, Pat Rolfing. And Rolfing is on the southeast or east of Lewiston here.
Should we have a vote on the 2 of them, or how should we do this?
If you have any questions, most of the information is on the sheet there.
I'm gonna make a motion, we vote for the Glendys, because you look at, I'll consider this their resume. They did an awful lot of work, spent a lot of money, and they do a nice job out there, everything looks good. But I mean, you can see with the septic tank, feed runoff, stacking slab in their storage, cover crops, contoured strips, waterways, ponds. I think they do an excellent job out there.
Yeah, they plant a lot of winter rye in the fall.
Yep.
And it's, it's up there about this now, so
Yeah.
then they cut it off and plant corn in. Yeah, but I don't know the Rolfing, but they live south of Lewiston a ways.
Over near Miller's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, out on the, okay, that way.
about a mile east of Jack Miller's on that grill.
Oh, okay.
Past the, if you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know where it is now then.
yeah. Ellen,
Yeah, Alan lives up.
Ellen, yeah, that's Ellen, Ell's Road there.
I think we have 2 excellent candidates this year. I know more of the Rolfings than I do of the Glendys. So I'm kinda undecided. The fact that I know the Rolfing's better, I would probably vote for them, but I don't know if it would be the right vote or not.
Well, we give it to one of these this year, we can give it to the other one next year. I don't, we don't know if there's gonna be a fair, so I don't know what's gonna happen with,
Well, we would still give them
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we still submit it to the state for the annual
So-
meeting at the end of the year, so we
Be
still
able to
need
get
to.
their recognition at the fair and their moment, yeah, I can see that.
and we've always done it, we've only done it at the fair the last few years, otherwise
Yeah.
there's never been any pomp and circumstances.
Think there'll be a state convention? By that time, who, maybe,
Hope so.
It's no idea, really hard to say.
I suggest we have a raise your hand ballot on it. There's 5 of us.
okay, who will, vote for the roofing?
I'll vote for all things.
So we have 2.
What are we doing?
We're voting between the 2 of them.
Conservation,
Roofing is
Everett
up.
and Pat roofing, or Paul and
For
Jackie
me,
Glendy?
they're both good, so I don't, no contest, I guess. It's like picking your favorite kid, it's like, I know both of them, so I guess I'm a little indecisive. I'm in the same boat where it's like, they're both would be really good candidates, so to be honest with you,
One of the thoughts that, as staff, that we had is that Glendy's are getting done with a lot of their stuff, so we'll be working with them less and less. So each year we wait, it's not a strong candidate anymore. Where with Rolfing, he's somebody that we really started working with just the last couple of years. And I think he'd still be a real strong candidate in the next year or 2, or stronger. I think they're both really good. That was the only thing that we were looking at is just the timing wise.
Okay,
So,
so you,
I guess I would switch my vote to the Glendys then, seeing as how what Daryl just said.
okay, you wanna give it to the Glendys then?
Yeah, I actually made a motion to do it.
Yeah.
That got seconded.
So we need a second then.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all in favor of the, give it to the, conservations to Paul and Jackie for 2020?
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Oppose? We'll give it, Jack and Paul and Jackie are our Winona County Outstanding Conservationists for this year then. Okay, draft budget 2021. We have to, we have a draft.
Do we have just trying to. So, the budget request to the county is due tomorrow. So we had to develop a draft budget to come up with a request. The problem is, a lot of our funding, we have no clue yet. Bowser's calculations for the local capacity funds haven't come out yet for 21, so we have no idea what that's gonna be. They did say that, like a month ago, he said it would likely go up. But we also don't have the legislative session done yet. That ends on Monday. Also with the COVID stuff, there's talk about, well, obviously there's a budget deficit forecast right now, a significant one. So there's talk that some of the grants may be reduced for 21. But we don't have any idea, any of that. The legislative session, like I said, ends next Monday. Some of the stuff might be determined by then, but most likely they're talking a special session sometime this summer to figure out numbers. as they get more, as they have more information to go by for their forecast. So what we did is just basically put in what we knew or what we expected and went from there for our budget, knowing that it's gonna change in the next couple or few months. And basically didn't make any adjustment. We kept the county allocation request the same as last year. Josh or Jerry, if you have anything?
No, I guess a couple of them that we discussed, or you and I discussed, was the step and pay increases. They're in there just simply for reference. I made a motion, or made a comment, I guess, that I think we need to be, just like with the vehicles and everything else, we need to be really careful about anything, especially this year, when so many people are getting laid off or going through hard times, and here we are buying new vehicles and giving raises. So it really rubs a lot of egg on our face, as taxpayers are saying, well, wait a minute here, I need the money more than what you do, why are you doing what you're doing? So I made the comment that it's okay that it's in the budget, it's not against anybody, it's not for any of that. I just think to give the high increases, especially after they asked last year with the huge percentage increase that we gave, and then to come back and do it again, if that caught attention, that could look really bad on us. So, but we left it in the budget in case everything works out, the money's there, the grant's there, et cetera. So that's the one thing probably to note. So that's just there purely speculative in case, hey, things work out. The other one was the vehicle. I questioned the county allocation, but that actually ended up being right.
Yep.
And what was my other thing? Or something else?
Thought they were just those.
Maybe it's just those couple. So otherwise, everything else is pretty much static from last year. Same cost.
And like always, this is just a draft, and the staff, none of us hold anybody to this. That we know this is gonna be changing, and like Josh said, that we talked about the cost of living increase and stuff, and I would assume that's not gonna stay there, but we needed some, like you said, some kind of reference to work off from. I'm assuming there's gonna be cuts from the state that we don't know yet. That's the tough part, being 99 or whatever % funded by outside forces. You have no idea what you're gonna be looking at in a few months.
I tend to agree with Josh. In times like this, I don't think we should be giving out raises too much either. When all of this came out about COVID and the effects that it was gonna have on the economy, my initial thoughts was that the entire economy should take a cut, that anybody that was getting paid should be getting paid less because of it, just to help with saving the economy and the fact that people aren't spending as much money as they used to with this. So as far as giving raises, I'm kind of against that for this year. Step increases might be a little bit different.
This is just a draft, so.
Yeah, I
it's
realize
there,
that.
we need it,
And
but-
as far as the revenues,
Yeah,
what Daryl says, we have no idea. And the county, Steve, I have to assume that county revenues are down with the sale taxes. Maybe that doesn't show up quickly enough to know, but
Well, the sales tax for the county is dedicated to road and bridges, so.
Right,
I mean, that's
yeah.
not, in the recipe with the rest of the funds, but at this point, we've delayed our collecting our property taxes, a couple months, and, yeah, I have to feel like, pretty much same sentiments. How does the government feel like we're exempt from what the rest of the general population is going through? You all are gonna suffer, you're gonna take major losses, meanwhile, we're gonna continue marching forward with the same raises we've been given, for the last 5 years while the economy was booming, so.
Ag sector's getting beat up, everybody's getting beat up, and we're all getting beat up.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
yeah, continue to pay those taxes while you're not, while your economy is suffering, so we'll see how it all plays out, but yeah, it's gonna be, I'm sure you're gonna see, some pushback from the county board on, what funds we decide we're gonna,
Yeah.
whether we're gonna increase or not increase or stay the same or where we're gonna be.
I would suggest from the county revenue that we ask for the same as we got last year.
That's what we're set at.
Yeah, it's 140.
If they can't do it, they can't do it. We have to expect that, I guess.
So we don't need a motion or anything to,
Yes, we do.
Yeah, just to submit it to the county is all we're doing. It's just a draft budget to the county, so I'll make a motion to submit the draft budget to the county.
I'll second.
okay, all in favor of the motion to approve the budget draft?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, this is just a template on, kind of where we were last year and where we,
Yep.
so. And then our request for the funds from the Winona County.
Did they have a copy of that? So that's the official document that, if that looks good, or if you want something reworded, or, it's basically the same as last year, we just kind of reorganized it a little different, but same wording, I think.
For the most part, it's the same. Simplified it a little bit.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
You did the
Aye.
second.
Opposed?
Terry?
Motion carries to, request funds from the county. Our annual call for resolutions from the, state board. We have to have a resolution to approve for resolutions.
That's the green sheet. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts for resolutions or not. We would need to approve them at our next board meeting, because one way or another, I would assume we'd have a resolution meeting in June for the area to then submit to the state. What is that, July 21st is when that's due.
Okay, do we have a motion then to,
I don't think there's any action needed on this, is there?
it says board action,
I didn't do that right.
Okay, so,
you don't need one?
If you, on the back is what the resolutions that are,
that are running out this year, that, so those could be considered again, right? Because they're running out,
if someone,
if somebody wanted to.
Yeah. I see supervisors per diem is on there, but Daryl has an update on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, if you see the MASWCD updates, but apparently there's a bill that includes a increase from $75 to $125 max for SWCD supervisors, and it's passed both the House and this, or it's in both House and Senate bills, but there's still a lot of negotiating going on yet, so that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're not sure if it's gonna be in the final bill or not.
Okay. Supervisor election, we have three supervisors up this year, so.
Been 4 years or?
Isn't that something? Seems like a year.
So you got the information there on filing. There's also been a bill, that's the bill that's passed the House and Senate and waiting the governor's signature, that would allow candidates to file electronically for the 2020 election. And I think that's for everybody. I don't know if
It was for everybody.
commissioners do.
Yeah, I've just been looking at it myself.
It's for everybody.
So, and that, this was a couple days ago, maybe he's, I don't know if he signed it since then or not, I haven't seen anything, but.
Okay. Do we have anything on aquatic, or Amanda's not here, so,
Just a quick, the Conservation Corps member is gonna start next Wednesday. And like I said earlier, we had to have a COVID preparedness plan for that. They also have their plan. Everything right now has been that only one person in a vehicle. They have, and NRCS also has they both said that they would allow 2 people in a vehicle if it's like for training and stuff like that. Recognizing that a lot of that training is your discussions to and from the workplace and stuff like that, so. But then, like in a vehicle, both people are supposed to be wearing a mask because you're in real close proximity and cleaning everything after you are done with the vehicle and stuff like that.
then the buffer law?
So buffer law, we sent out letters to 9 landowners on sites that we had some concern from our compliance monitoring last fall. And we got callbacks from a number of them, not all of them, but a number of them saying that it's either been fixed or they're fixing it, or saying it should be good, come out and check it. So we're working on those. On the existing non-compliant sites, we are down to 3 landowners with 4 parcels. We're at 99.8% compliant. 2 of those 3 landowners are working on getting it taken care of yet this spring. And one of them, the other one, has a stream bank and habitat restoration project going on this summer. And hopefully it'll be taken care of when they're done with that project. They'll have the fences at the right spot, so hopefully we'll be good to go by the end of the summer. And one of the other ones that is compliant now was one where we had asked the DNR to reconsider public water or buffer map for that, and they did take it off the map, or they're in the process. The map won't be updated till fall, but they said it is approved. That's all I got.
Okay. Steve, you wanna update us on county, going on in the county?
Sure. County board's we've been having video meetings, of course, rather than in-person meetings, and public participation. That's always important to me, and since we're meeting online, we can't have the public comment period like we've had in the past, so just encouraging people to just call in, contact with their commissioners, and we can relay those concerns before our board meetings. Of course, I already told you we pushed the property tax deadline back 60 days, and we'll see where that goes when the time comes on that. Another issue then was the feedlot cap. Since many farmers are not able to get rid of market their hogs or their animals, it was creating an issue where they were up against their cap, and we didn't want them to say, you gotta get rid of those animals one way or another, so we temporarily gave them relief if they have to go up in numbers, so that they don't, maybe can manage more numbers of animals until the market increases or improves and they can get rid of those animals. So giving some relief on those animal caps temporarily. The jail issue, of course, that's ongoing. We've seen really quite a few developments through the whole COVID issue. We've proven that we can really find other ways to manage our inmates. In the last 60 days, between Wabasha, Winona, and Houston, we've got 180 beds available, and we're only using 18 of those 180 beds. And now Wabasha County is, it's been on their agenda, they're discussing closing their almost new jail because they just can't even afford to operate it. And so I think, you know, I brought forward to the board that we need to reevaluate how much and how big of a jail we build. I think we need some type of facility, but the debate we were having before was that Marcia and I wanted a smaller facility and the 3 city commissioners wanted a larger facility. And I think we're proving through this that there's other ways to manage the population that we need to incarcerate. So I'm gonna probably continue to push for even a smaller facility than what we've been discussing. We'll see how that all plays out. I'm sure maybe Sheila will talk about the Mississippi 1-1 application that's come through the county board. I'll just let her talk about that so we don't go over it twice. I don't know if anyone has any questions, otherwise I'll just let you carry on with your meeting.
County fair this year? Probably not, maybe?
I haven't heard of a decision on that yet, so.
What was the question?
County fair or not?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's, you know,
What a shame.
they don't have it.
I think there's already been 1 or 2 canceled in the southeast area.
But I know the state of Iowa, they're releasing all their
We're going to Iowa camping next week?
restrictions, I think, on the amount of people that can gather. They've really changed that a lot here lately, so.
And Winona County is one of the earlier fairs.
It's in, right after the 4th of July, like the 10th,
8th through the 12th.
yeah.
So is there anything the county can do to override or?
Well, the county fair has their own board, and you know, it's not I believe it would be their jurisdiction to decide
Make that decision.
what's gonna happen with that.
But as far as the provision for having distancing between people is right now is 6 feet. That is something that could be with us for a long time. So I mean, as far as having gatherings like that, it could be affected for a year, maybe more than 1 year. So down the road, it doesn't.
I think in a few weeks we'll learn from Wisconsin, because they opened up everything yesterday. Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that Tony Evers didn't have the power to
Yep.
6 weeks.
lock that.
Six
So
weeks, we'll find
bars
out.
were open at 7 o'clock last night
Yep.
in Wisconsin, so that's gonna be the telltale story.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we know where you were last night.
No, I seen it on the news.
I'm gonna go to Wisconsin and get a haircut.
We're going to Iowa camping next week. Just all that much more lost revenue from Minnesota.
Yeah. Mhm.
These other states.
Well, that might change
Wake up.
starting Monday, won't it?
They're gonna
Or
wake up
what's
and realize,
Walt's gonna do?
There's no 6-foot distancing at Bass Camp.
yeah, there's none of it.
I think we're still 30 days social distancing, no large gatherings.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
But
The-
the governor,
Congress voted to lift it, and then Monday was supposed to be the day.
Didn't our email last night say that?
I haven't seen anything. The governor is lifting some stuff on, the lockdown is done Monday.
The federal guidelines are still in on social distancing,
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
feet and that, but
okay, Sheila, do you have something?
Yes, Kay just wanted me to let everybody know that Blake Leah from our department had, May 6th was his last day with the county, and he's now employed at Fillmore County, and he's the zoning technician, GIS coordinator, and feedlot officer. And so that went on, and then Carly McGinty, our feedlot officer, will be picking up, cause he was kind of doing the enforcement letters for the buffer law implementation, so she'll be picking that piece up doesn't look like that she has too much to do with that, based on your report with the buffers. And also Kay wanted me to relay, that if, you know, with some of these, farmers needing to euthanize their livestock, because of the COVID-19, if anybody has any questions about the animal composting, they can be directed to Ben Klinger. He's doing all the coordination on this, and he's working in conjunction with the state and with the state Board of Animal Health, and then informing the feedlot officer when it happens.
Can I add a little to that?
Sure.
The NRCS also has some funding available to help some of these landowners that if they have to do some composting or whatever. And they have the guidelines also that has to be followed to get that. It's the same, I think it's the same guidelines to get that funding.
Okay.
The local locker plants are
Pretty busy,
extremely busy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
good thing.
And then also with the Mississippi River, Winona, La Crescent watersheds, one watershed, one plan, that application is due on June 12th. Wabasha County Board, it looks like their resolution will be on the agenda at their June 2nd board meeting. Otherwise, we have resolutions from all the required participants, which should be the SWCDs, the watershed district, and the counties. And we had earlier this month a webinar meeting with Bowser assisting to discuss concerns that were brought up about one watershed, one plan, and how that could play out. And so anyway, I'm kind of working on that application, and I don't know how the funding will go for this round. But based on what I've heard about reductions in funding, I don't know if they will select 6 watersheds in this round, or if it'll be 3 or 4, based on how much money that they are able to expend on it. So I guess we'll learn more as we go through it. And with Whitewater, we canceled our April meeting. Next meeting is June 18th. I have the surface water assessment grant sub-agreements. That'll be on the agenda for the next meeting, as well as sub-agreements for the cover crops for the drinking water protection grant. I wasn't able to work on it yet, Daryl, because I didn't get the email yet from Bowser to execute the grant, and I was kind of worried about that, and evidently somebody forgot to click send. So,
It wasn't
So
that they
like-
unfunded yet.
that's what I was concerned about, and so I was told that it would be done today, so.
Okay. Do we have something from Miller and Rocamp on the Mississippi River? Winona watershed plan?
Well, that's what Sheila just discussed.
Okay.
I guess there's not much else that we can add to it.
Okay.
Just have to wait to see what happens with it.
Yeah. You have anything, Andy?
Technical stuff that kind of
I guess I missed
right over my head.
the March meeting. Daryl did send me this printout on the mold thing. I was just wondering what's happening with that.
That's a federal one, and that pretty much showed that things were pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I did talk to Brian last week a little bit, the landlord, and he thought the same thing, but we both said that it wasn't the best time to take the test though. And that was one of his arguments with the USDA, was that, you know, the middle of the winter isn't the best time to take a mold test. But I just told him that we would see how things are looking this summer, or spring and summer, and if it just seems like things are getting bad and we have questions, we might talk to him again, or might have to just do it ourselves if he won't.
Have you heard anything about, you know, we're supposed to be on the list to get upgraded or?
I haven't heard anything on that end. The USDA has a lease through the end of '21. The reason I talked, two reasons I talked to Brian last week is one, to get this space. Also, he informed me that he has the place up for sale. And they had somebody did a walkthrough with them on Saturday. No idea if anybody's buying it yet or not, but he did ask about our lease, because ours is a month-to-month since December of 2010. And he said, if I do sell it, he said there might be a contingency by the buyer to have our lease match USDA's. So we may be asked to write a new lease to match theirs through 21. But he has no idea if or when something might happen.
And that would raise our lease by how much?
Doesn't necessarily have to raise it at all. It just might, instead of being month to month, it may be through December 21.
Well, I imagine whoever buys it would want to have some guarantee that, would want,
Yeah,
that you're here for,
yep.
okay. You have a report then, Daryl?
That was part of my report. And the per diem was part of my report. But I guess I was just gonna point out, we're recording today's meeting. There was some concern from people that wanted to come to the meeting, or wanted to be part of the meeting, but didn't want to come to a big group and didn't want to get us over the 10-person limit. So what we're doing is recording it. We'll post the meeting on our Facebook page. Hopefully the sound is good. We did a lot yesterday trying to get the best we could in short notice. If it didn't work out very good, we have some ideas. And I've also talked to the county IT about some ideas that we can hopefully do better next month if this didn't turn out very good. And the other thing I was just gonna point out that, Commissioner Jacob mentioned that they're doing all their meetings on virtually, and every meeting we've had has been virtual. It's kind of been nice because you can have the meeting on and you can do other work while the meeting's going on. So you can kind of get two things done at one time, and that part's been nice, but you don't have the same interaction as you do in person. So we'll see how things go in the next month or couple
I think
months.
they're finding that same thing out with this way the kids go to school. When it first started, they thought, well, this will go great, but after it went on it works all right for some kids, but some kids don't get anything.
Yep.
So that's why we want to get the kids back to school this fall.
And what's crazy is some kids like this better than school. My comment is what? You mean public school doesn't solve all the problems? Weird.
Well, there's some kids who need that face-to-face, or they're not gonna get the education.
Some kids hate it.
Yeah, they're not gonna gain social skills and stuff.
The social skills, yeah.
A lot of them need the
Well,
school just to eat.
Kids on the farm. I went down Winona a couple of times during this time, and the kids, this was at a Quick Trip. It was like a gang of kids. They were inside playing with the pop machines and stuff, and then they were riding their bikes, just like they're on the loose, and one mother be home at a certain time for supper, yell at the kids. They're just don't know where they are. But kids that are out on the farm, they're working a lot of times. But okay, I think that's pretty much it. Our next meeting is the 11th. So,
Do you wanna have a board action to decide where you wanna have it? Brian has offered to let us use this.
I would suggest having it here, because this is, if this is the format that we have to have it in.
Yeah.
He's offered it and at no cost,
Well, great.
for the short term anyway.
Okay, anybody make a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. I think this